Whenever you're working on something in Cubase, what you're actually working on is called a project. And the reason that they call it a project instead of a song or a tune is because Cubase is used for all sorts of audio purposes, not all of which are songs. For example, a movie score is not really a song, nor is a Foley track for movie sound effects a song. So everything is called a project, and the way that a Cubase project, or for that matter, any media program like an audio or video editing program works, is it's a collection of media. It's very different than the document that we're looking at right now, which is a Word document. If you were in Microsoft Word and you saved a document that you were working on, it shows up as one individual file. And it's called a document instead of a book or a text or a tome. Instead, it's called something a little bit more arbitrary like document, which is why what you're working on in Cubase is referred to generically as a project. And again, a project is a collection of media, and so therefore starting a Cubase project properly is paramount to collecting all of that media inside of one folder. Instead of a document, what you're actually going to make is a folder that the Cubase project and all of its associated media are going to go into. So let's talk about how to build a Cubase project properly. And the first time you launch Cubase, you're going to be taken to the Steinberg Hub. And it's a 2-column window. We're not going to worry about what's happening over on the left-hand column. And instead, let's look at the 6 tabbed pages that are on the top of the right column. You can see that there's a recent column for all of your recently created or worked on projects. And then there's a whole bunch of factory defaults that you can also start with. But what I'm going to do is come down here, because this is where the really important stuff is. Some people use the Use Default Location option, but I'm actually, for this purpose, going to show you a more descriptive way to start your first project and to collect all of the media for it, and that is by choosing the Prompt for Project Location option. Then I'm going to hit the Create Empty button. Then I'm going to navigate to where I want to save my Cubase projects, and I have a folder called Cubase Projects that I've already created on my computer. And what I'm going to do is not save the project file in here, and instead I'm going to make a project folder. It's really important to think about folders whenever you're using a program like Cubase or a video editor like Adobe Premiere, because it is in that folder that all of the media is going to be collected. So I'm going to click on New Folder. I'm going to call this My First Project. Now I have a project folder. When I click on Open, it's going to start this first project for me, but you'll notice that it gives it an arbitrary name of Untitled Number 1. What I want to do as soon as I see this project window, which we'll talk about more later, as soon as I see this appear, I'm going to want to save this as the same name as the project folder. And usually if you are working musically and you're working on a song, it would be the name of the song. Or if you're working on a score, it would be the name of the score. But in this particular case, I'm just going to save this as the same exact name as the project folder. You'll notice that it already chose the project folder for us, and I'm just going to expand this window so that you can see a little bit more about what's going on here. I'm going to call this the same name. So this is My First Project. Now you'll notice one thing, that there's an audio folder within the My First Project folder. But we didn't make that folder. Where did that come from? Well, because Cubase is going to collect and organize the media for you if you follow this model. So again, you create a project folder first, then you save a project file with the .cpr extension at the end, and that's the project file. And I'm going to show you how those two are related right now. So I'm going to hit the Save button. And now what I'm going to do is add one audio track. and I'm going to call this, let's say I'm going to choose the mono input. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly because we're going to go over this more in depth a little bit later on. But I'm going to record a mono audio track, and I'm going to give it a name of vocals, let's just say, and it's just going to be one track. So I have one vocal track in my project now, and if I hit the record button, what's going to happen is it's going to be recording this audio file, but this is actually a new file that is being recorded onto your computer's disk drive or solid state drive, whatever your computer is using for storage. And every time you hit the record button on an audio track, it's going to be making a new audio file, one audio file for each track that you're recording. So if we were to look at that project folder on the computer right now, here's my first project. I'm going to go inside of that project folder, and now I can see my project file with the .cpr extension. We can see that audio folder that was made for us automatically, but then there's a couple of new folders that have been made. The images folder and the track pictures folder. So Cubase did all of this work for us. It's collecting all of the media inside of these folders inside of our project folder. So if we were to look in the audio folder right now, you'll notice that there are two files in it. One is Vocals01. That's the first take of the vocals track. And then there's a placeholder for the second time I hit the record button. So if I were to hit record again and just continue this recording and then hit stop, let's see what's happened inside of the audio folder. Well, now there's a new recorded version of Vocals02 plus a placeholder for 03. And now in the next section, let's talk about testing all of the connections.